Waiting is one of the most challenging experiences, especially while waiting on God. You understand what I'm referring to. Some of you might feel as though God is holding you hostage. You've asked God for something in prayer and wonder why it's taking so long. Perhaps you're asking God to cure your aches in your prayers. You may be begging God to lead a loved one to Christ. Perhaps you are pleading with God for a job with benefits so that you can support your family. You may pray to God for healing, marriage, salvation, or a spouse, but the more you pray, the less you seem to be receiving. You're undoubtedly praying for something, believing in something, and having confidence in something, but you still haven't heard anything from God. There is no indication that He heard you, no evidence of His activity. What is God up to in the meantime? Why does God seem to be so quiet? I want to remind you that God is not necessarily absent when it seems like He is silent. God is at work. While you're watching and wondering, God's goodness, power, provision, and grace are at work behind the scenes. He never stops working. He never stops working to make things better in everything. He cherishes you. He is a decent father. He has kind intentions for you, and He desires to favor you. He desires for you to flourish. You may not see it occurring, but that doesn't mean that He isn't working on it. Every one of us has things we will hope will happen in the future. Dreams, solutions to problems, or the right person. When something takes longer than anticipated, it's tempting to grow disappointed and impatient. But occasionally, it doesn't happen because we are unprepared for what God has planned. Although you are prepared for what you have, you cannot manage now what God has in mind. You require more time to advance, mature, and gain experience. As it says in the Bible, let patience do its divine job. In the waiting area, patience can be cultivated. Even if you cannot observe any changes, they are occurring. Your spiritual stamina is increasing. Being patient is preparing you to withstand what God has for you, and your patience strengthens you and prepares you to withstand what God has in store for you in the future. Don't undervalue the waiting times. Try not to get disheartened because it isn't happening as quickly as you would like. God has more planned for us the longer it takes. Today's culture is not one where people are prepared to exercise patience and wait for God to act accordingly to His schedule. When God doesn't act as soon as you want, there's a good reason. So to wait patiently, you must adopt an optimistic and anticipatory mindset. Do not give up. Don't get tired too quickly. Don't lose patience. We are comparable to hospital patients asking the doctor for advice on how to handle a patient when we call. What should a patient do after calling the doctor? The doctor is not receiving instructions from you. You're awaiting instructions from the doctor. We frequently feel as though God is inactive. He's involved and invested in the details of our daily lives as He crafts chapter after chapter of the story of your life. He's always working on something. When everything in our lives is precisely how we want it to be, we never experience spiritual growth. If something is only in your head and hasn't been incorporated into your life yet, then you can learn something, but you won't fully understand it. Testing your beliefs is the only way to discover what you truly believe. We can pray about trusting God. We can talk about trusting God. But none of you truly know if you trust God until something happens in your life that seems to make no sense at all, that you feel incredibly unfair, that you feel like it's not right, that you feel like He is nowhere to be found. You wait and wait until it's over. You will then realize whether or not you truly believe in God. He wants us to put our faith in Him, be patient with Him, and show Him respect. I acknowledge that it is absurd, but I still believe in God. Have faith that God is at work in sound. You don't need to know how long you will have to wait, but you should know that God will provide and that if you change your attitude, you can enjoy the time while you wait. Do your part now and be patient while waiting, not upset, not whining about the lack of progress. Instead, say thank you. I am grateful that you will complete what you started in my life. Thank you for making good on your commitment. You'll witness promises come true once patience has had time to work. When we comprehend that waiting doesn't imply nothing is happening and that it's all a part of the process, we can maintain our trust in the knowledge that God will bring us to where we're supposed to be at the appropriate time. After Samuel, the prophet appointed David as the next king. David had to wait 13 years before ascending to the throne. God could have placed him on the throne right away, but God knows David wasn't prepared. During those 13 years, he was put through a trial period. He dutifully looked after his father's flock of sheep. It appeared like a low-paying job. He was aware that his potential was greater. He had heard the prophet proclaim that he was going to be king. But if David hadn't succeeded in passing the test in the waiting area, he would never have ascended to the throne. Before God would trust him with the care of his own sheep, the people of Israel, he had to prove to him that he would take care of his father's sheep. Be the best version of yourself in the process. That is a critical period. God is waiting to see if you're prepared. And the secret is, if that situation you're praying about doesn't change, God is using it to change you. If it's not working out, something within you needs to be done. Everything is geared toward making you happy. God has a purpose for your life. No one else will receive anything with your name on it. God won't let anyone take what is rightfully yours. When Samuel the prophet arrived at David's home to anoint one of the boys as the next king, David was outside in the shepherd's field. David's father Jesse had not even brought David inside. No way could it be David, he reasoned. His age is too young. Samuel tried to pour the oil on the other 7 boys, but it wouldn't flow. God was trying to teach us that no matter how hard someone tries to take what is rightfully yours, they may manipulate, plot, neglect, or leave you out, but the oil will not flow to them. Your way is being prepared for what bears your name. No one else can have the person, the job, the house, the opportunity, or the promotion. Because of this, we are free from living in jealousy or envy of other people. You would have it if it were supposed to be yours. Remain in the waiting area. Be positive at all times. Keep expanding. Continue passing the exam. God's plan for you is on its way. It's taking longer because it's more significant and gratifying than anticipated. Psalm 37 verse 34 says, "Don't be impatient for the Lord to act. Keep traveling steadily along his pathway, and in due season, he will honor you with every blessing." My final task is not to rush God into action. Don't let the lack of progress demotivate you. God is working.